Hello everyone and welcome to Meta Episode 4. I am Artosis, joined by a bunch of my nerds. Catz, how are you doing once again?
I'm doing pretty good. There's a bunch of things going on right now, so that's good. Good things, I guess. The Shoutcraft is great, so great for root. Working on the house still. Just lots of things going on, so that's good.
Oh, that's good. It's good to keep busy. Iaguz, a lot of people might not know who this guy is. He is the top Terran from Australia. Very good player. How are you doing?
Pretty good. It's nice to see you continuing your love affair with Australians.
You guys
Starting
are awesome,
with Leggy
man.
and now me.
I hung out with you guys for like a week. You guys are wonderful. I just have to
It's
do
nice
it.
someone thinks that.
I do. Well, and of course, Greg, Idra, how are you doing today on this wonderful morning, or nighttime for you, I guess?
Pretty good. I've had a pretty eventful, busy week, but
Oh, what happened?
busy. Oh, nothing too much.
Nothing much?
No,
Just
run of the mill kind of shit.
yeah, no, the same old every week, day in, day out, Starcraft here, Starcraft there. Me too, man. I get you.
Yeah, watching
All
all
right.
that GSL and stuff. That was exciting.
There's a lot to watch. There's more Starcraft than I can even possibly speed watch. But let's go ahead and start talking about the game. The first thing, let's go over a little bit this new patch for ZVZ. I'm sure you guys saw it. It is the additional damage, because before it had the spores doing 15 plus 15 to biological, basically just anti-muta. And now it's going to do 15 plus 30, which comes out to, I think someone said it was like 52 damage per second. That's like almost as much as a stemmed marine. What do you guys think? How is this? How is this going to actually affect ZVZ? What do you guys think? Is this going to really change it? Is this going to be enough to make mutas go away, or at least mix in other things, or what?
I'm not entirely convinced yet, because the problem with mutas isn't that they're killing your base or that they're actually an aggressive threat. It's that they give you so much map control if you don't go mutas yourself. And so the only way that the spore thing is actually going to kick in on most maps is if you can get your third up in time to plant spores at it before the mutas come out. And like, it was already such that if you could do that safely, you would end up in pretty good shape, even if you weren't going mutas. Because that third base is all that matters. The third base is what lets you go Infestor and Hydra, which is what lets you move out against mutas. But to get that third base, you have to take a lot of risks. Like if they're going Roach and doing a Roach Bane all in, you take that third early on, you kind of just die. Oftentimes you have to, like, one of the best builds to do it is to get really quick upgrade Zerglings and then take the third base off of that. But if you get that upgrade in time, then you're actually leaving yourself vulnerable to a super early Baneling all in, because you're putting the 150 gas into Carapace. So like, to actually get that third in time, I think you still have to take all the same risks. And so I think that still makes the spores not the best solution to the problem. I think the real problem is Zerg's anti-air is a little bit lacking in every matchup.
Catz, what is your thought? You were shaking your head yes a lot.
Yeah, I kind of agree with Greg on most of those things. He kind of covered like the upgraded link style that he's talking about is what I usually go for, and even before the patch. So I think that it's going to be a little bit easier to secure that third with like just one or two spores and a bunch of queens. But the nice thing about the upgraded links is that you get map control and that you can like deny their third, and it's all nice. But like Greg said, it's hard against Baneling all-ins. I'm still working against that, so I don't know. You can get a Baneling nest right after, and but still you would need like an extra spine if you spot it, if you spot the all-in coming, potentially an extra queen, and it's not easy to hold without Banelings. It's not impossible though, so I'm confident that there will be a way. I think the spores help a tiny bit, but I don't think it's like Greg said. I don't think that's the main problem here.
So you guys think the main problem is actually securing the third base quick enough to get the spores up to make a difference?
Either securing the third or the efficiency at actually fighting the mutas like on the open ground, because you can deal with mutas, but the units that you have to build to deal with mutas are too fragile. The Hydras, or not multi-purpose enough with the Infestors, with their nerf to their anti-armor DPS.
Could this just add on to TLO's winning streak because he's just going to cancel Hatchery to lay Creep Tumor and get his spores down in time? Is this possibly just going to make him the greatest Zerg player of all time, this spore change?
Maybe.
I mean,
That could
maybe.
go. Yeah.
I don't know. I think that queens are the best way. Like the thing is, if you go Hydras right away, then you can deal with mutas. But then if they go banelings, you die.
Yeah.
So you kind of have to go infestors, and like Greg said, they're not very efficient at fighting mutas with a new fungal. So it's a little bit weird, but I think it will help, and I think that it will make it so that you can secure a third and get a better economy and go into that Hydra Infestor composition, and then Adam Roaches to move out.
So you guys think that maybe it'll go like you start Muta and then switch out quicker? Because right now it's like you start Muta and either you sneak early Infestors or you wait till like 180 supply and go Infestors. So are we just going to see like you make a certain group of Mutas like 10 or something like we see in ZVT maybe, and then you have your map control, you're killing a couple Overlords. He doesn't know how long you're going Mutas and then you switch or what?
That definitely could be, because the way to deal with that, the sneaking the early infestors, like you said, is that you just have to constantly be in their face, because you can always get away. Mutas can't chase down other mutas. So as long as you're careful about it, you just stay there and make sure that they keep adding mutas if you're not sure if they're gonna go infest or not. But in this case, and then usually what happens there is if you see that they're not adding mutas, then you go in and apply pressure to punish them during the tech switch. However, with the new spores, that won't be possible, just because you'll be flying into spores that like 3-shot your mutas. So that is, I hadn't really thought of that too much, but that is definitely an application that could actually matter.
Yeah, I think so too. But then again, you probably need like more than one spore per base, which is already an investment in itself.
Yeah.
And you want to be getting links as well and all that stuff. So it's not going to be easy by any means. So I mean, I think that's good, right? Like it shouldn't be easy. Mutas shouldn't go out. So
Yeah.
I think that mutas are going to stay relevant and stay probably the best and most common option for a little while. But it might open up options like that. That's a really good point.
I kind of like that though too, because if you have like that really common opening, it seems like the matchup isn't going to go too haywire to begin with, but there's going to be so much more flexibility. You guys think this is like a good change to help ZVZ become more, less stagnant, I guess is the word, or should they have done something else as far as the balance patch goes?
If it actually works out like that you can switch into, like, you switch off mutas quite quickly and safely, which now that I think about it actually could be the case, then yeah, I think so, because then you'll get this really weird balance of how many infestors do I have to make, how quickly is he going to switch off, can I go swarm hosts in time and get those up to counter the Roach Hydra, or can he bust me? And I think it might end up making it really dynamic, depending on just how many mutas you have to make, just like all the balance of the cost efficiency and investment throughout all that. There's actually quite a bit to figure out if that's how it's going to end up working out.
In fact, now that I'm like trying to think about it a little bit more, is there some possibility, Catz, that in fact you will become the greatest ZVZ player in the world because Spore swarm host pushes could? Is that a possibility that we could be seeing? That would be. I would love to watch that, man. I don't know how many ZVZs you watch. Wait, yes, I do, because you're Australian, so you watch like 1 million at every tournament. But I think that would be fun to watch.
You know what I was
busy
actually
crying in
crying?
the corner.
What I was trying yesterday, actually, it didn't quite work, but I think it has a lot of potential. I was going for that Ling upgraded style, and then I made a push like right before Mutas popped out with 4 drones to make spores there. But he ended up holding. But I think if they go up, build spores in their base, you can actually kill them outright with superior Ling numbers. Because spores are ridiculous now. Like they 3-shot Muta.
Almost like a missile turret.
3-shotting Muta is insane. It's not like it's an overkill too with 3 shots. So if the Mutas are anywhat injured, they'll probably just take 2 shots and die. So it's pretty stupid. Yeah.
I could actually see swarm host static defense being like unbreakable on the ground.
Well, Lings would never. Well, really, nothing would do anything once you have a certain
break
amount, right? So, all right, this is Catz. I want to hear from you after the next week or so. If Spore, swarm host push become the norm, man, because that would be so funny. Because then suddenly this one change brings us back to just free units killing each other in the middle of the map, like the end of pretty.
And then you counter them with the other free units because you go Broodlord to break it.
That's true. Oh my god.
No, actually, it's kind of true, but not. I think that the best composition in ZVZ, it's Swarm Host, Viper, Hydra. It counters Broodlords pretty well. I think that's like the ultimate late game.
I actually suddenly have a vision of Catz abducting corruptors into spores. While
I've
his
abducted vipers, man.
abducting vipers.
What happens if two
I
vipers
played a CVC.
if two vipers abduct each other? Do they like throw each other past and like go?
They probably do. I've
Can
never
you-
seen that, but I played a CVC against Vibe where I turtled with Storm hosts and we split the map, and it was literally like we both switched to Broodlords at one point in the game, and we both switched out of it because we realized like basically the Storm host and the Broodlords are a stalemate, and anything that you pull into your army is what you're actually killing. So I think that's by far the best unit composition. But the problem with what you suggested is that like getting there, like it's the same issues that you would have getting the third and now the fourth, because Stormhosts are pretty bad at holding all over the place, and mutiling is all over the place.
It does
Okay,
seem amusing that ZVZ could turn into like, Pudge only, all mid, throwing out hooks.
Yeah.
It's like Mortal Kombat, man. Actually, completely off this subject, can you abduct a Brood Widowmine?
Can you abduct a burrowed swarm host?
I don't know. Can you do
I-
this?
I
Who
don't
knows
actually know.
this?
Phoenix can,
Why would you want to abduct a Widowmine? That doesn't
I don't
sound
know.
healthy.
if it's off cooldown.
Let me know if I can
Or
do it
on
first. And if you
Okay.
can, does it shoot on its way? Could you fly your Viper around the Terran army and abduct the mine through it?
Okay, you
That
want to
sounds
see the
horrifying.
sickest thing ever? I'll show you. Hold up.
I hope they keep making medevacs out of metal though. After this
Oh
new
God, wouldn't that be funny? You know what I hope
Could I-
is that
change. It would
this
be like
totally.
medevac healing each other.
Sorry.
Oh my God, imagine that for a moment if you would.
You can stock Stormhost. If you want to run that video, it's like 1 minute, I think.
What is it?
1 minute. It's a video. It's a video from my stream where I abduct a couple Stormhosts to save them.
Oh my God, that's hilarious.
They actually like live with like no HP. It's pretty funny.
You know what, by the way, would be awesome? Okay, let's watch this video real quick.
You pull them
This
out
is-
of out of the ground.
Yeah.
Oh,
So here's Catz like attacking into this thing, and there goes Vipers. And
Do they
are
get
you?
on
No, no, no,
burrowed
no,
up?
no, 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 no. So you just wait. Do they unburrow when you
yeah,
abduct
it pulls
them?
them out of the ground. Yeah, that's
Oh,
that's pretty
then
You actually abducted your own Stormhost because probes are going to kill them. Catz, you,
and it was
you
practical.
play
like,
a
they were going to
completely
die.
different game than everyone here, man. This, I'm not sure what the name of the game is that you play, but it's not Starcraft.
It's
I
pretty
can't. Even,
They
That's
were
a
together,
wonderful-
Too, so that's the only. That was really cute.
Are you
I
going to
guess you can-
subscribe or what?
I guess you can abduct Widowmines. It would unburrow them. If it unburrows Swarmhosts, I'd imagine it would unburrow Widowmines, which sounds a lot
Well,
healthier.
We have a new
Graviton
counter
beam-
to Widowmines, guys. This is good
Can
to know.
Graviton Beam pick up a mine then?
Yes.
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 Graviton Beam can pick up a swarm host out of the ground.
Yes.
Yeah, it does.
It upgoes it too.
It's kind of annoying when they have those.
Now, hold on. Now, here's the real question. If I lift up a burrowed mine with a Phoenix, and then
It won't-
my Phoenix gets abducted, what happens?
Does it
Shit.
pull it?
I think
Does
the
the
game
Widow
just
Mine
crashes-
come with it? Does the
It
Widow
goes
Mine
like a
drop?
tractor beam.
What
I think the
happens in
game
this?
crashes.
We're going to have to get in a free-for-all after this and actually figure these things out. These are important things to know.
This is definitely a show about StarCraft. To learn all
It's
the important interactions.
I don't know
These
if we can
are-
have this conversation without TLO here though. This is like his realm.
Because you'd be like, oh, yes, I tested that. I'm like, it has 3 races, TLO. Why did you test that? How does that help you in any way? It's like,
You'll
oh,
know the
it's just-
acceleration of the Widow Mine when the abduct happens.
Oh, it's so
Kind
funny.
of good to see that now.
You know what I would really like with this little patch thing? If this really fixes ZVZ, I wouldn't be opposed to my cannons getting plus versus biological. I'm just saying. Just throwing that out there. Or the Nexus cannon, because that thing doesn't do anything against 13 meters, man.
Oh, you know
Yeah,
what's fun
it's-
about it too? That the spores actually like the spores actually kill the overseers too. So like I've had swarm hosts and then like 5 spores in the front, and it's so hard to break.
Yeah. Yeah, because everything Zerg has is biological. That's
wow,
not just
yeah,
buff
I guess
against
so.
mutas.
Yeah. Since
They're going to have
Truckers
to
do.
run up their spores, like a line of spores, and burrow those for the
But-
detection.
But I lost that game because he took every base on the map. So that's where I say the problem comes from.
Mm.
They're probably gonna have to
Alright.
learn how to infest command centers again and just take orbitals and use them instead of overseers.
That'd be nice.
I would love to have a spell that detects, man. There is nothing like losing all your observers to a Stormhost player. Nothing is painful, I mean. All right, I think we've discussed that new patch enough.
The Oracle, right? The Oracle does that?
No, the Oracle's not getting a change in this patch. They've
Oh, no,
been
I mean,
talking about it.
No, he's talking about Envision.
Oh. Well, no, I mean, it can detect, but like only in its radius.
Oh, yeah.
And then once you do the revelation thing on it, if you go out of range of the detection, you don't see the cloak stuff.
Mm,
I wish. That would be great.
yeah.
That would make that spell really sickly good. All right.
Someone in
So-
chat said the Graviton Beam gets canceled. I want to know if they actually knew that.
How would... Well,
I'd imagine it gets cancelled. I've never seen a
you could
try
graviton
it.
beam stretch.
Yeah, you could test it without a mine, like with a swarm host instead, I guess.
Or you
You
can
know,
just
I-
like make a custom map with three races or an FFA or whatever.
well, I guess you could just
The
lift
unit
up
tester. I'll do it now.
something that... You could lift up a Zerg unit and try it. Like, it didn't have
Yeah,
to be a Widow
exactly.
Mine. I just...
That's instead of swarm host, it should be the same.
Way to completely not think outside the box, Idra.
Have I ever done that though? I mean,
No, I guess you got me there. You got me with that one. Any final thoughts about the new ZVZ patch?
I hope it makes ZVZ more fun to watch.
I
When they get
hope.
knocked out of tournaments.
I know, right? That must be just hellish for you. Man. It's like you and Light just sitting there, be like, "Oh God damn it! What is this?"
Pretty much.
Oh. All right, let's jump on to another topic here. I want to talk about it just briefly because he's had such an impact on strategies and gameplay and the community at all and all this stuff. Stefano retiring on August 15th. That's a pretty big deal. Like, this guy actually helped to revolutionize a lot of the game, the way the game is played and the way, pro gamers are seen and stuff. A really great personality, of course. But, we have to remember he helped to really bring things up, like the 12-minute max that had a lot to do with him. And, he's over $100,000 in winnings ahead of every other foreigner. Can anyone ever become what Stefano was for us? Where he's like the one guy that actually beats Koreans. For it not well, but you know what I mean beforehand.
Sure, why not?
I don't know. I would be
Yeah.
very surprised. If anything, it feels like the gap's lengthening. I would be very surprised if anyone does what he did.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it may not be like one person, but I think that a few foreigners could. I think that a few foreigners are. And it shows because they can beat Stefano, right?
Yeah.
So I think, yeah. I mean, it's pretty sad news. I don't think anyone will be as dominant as a foreigner as he was in his time.
Yeah. Well, I think that era of the game is probably over. Everyone's getting too good and everything's getting too close. He just kind of was a little bit of a prodigy, I guess, is the way to put it, in my opinion.
Yeah, he understood the game far before, far more than pretty much everyone, including
Yeah.
Koreans.
Yeah.
I have to agree with that. A little side question, because the rule in StarCraft 1 was if you announced that you retired, you weren't retiring. You came back every single time. Will Stefano ever come back, I guess? Because of course he could, but...
I remember,
Yeah.
if I remember correctly, I think it was after he won IPL 4, he said he'd only play till the end of the year, and then he didn't do that. He decided to win more tournaments. It's like,
But
maybe.
at the time, he was winning more tournaments. Like if his run in WCS EU, if that pans out and he wins it, and then is qualified for the WCS finals, I could see him definitely sticking around for that. Because I mean, he's not crazy. He likes money, and this is the best way he has to make money until he goes through 8 years of med school. So I think if he's winning that, he could stick around. But that's just my speculation. And he did put a date on it, so it's kind of hard to get around that. Like before, he just said nebulously, "I'm not going to be around for too long. I'm going to go back to school." But now he said, "August 15th, I'm gone."
I did see
Yeah.
someone say that that's when he has to leave pro gaming, basically to do school full time, right around that date.
I think that date's when his contract with EG is actually up. I think that's a 1 year
Yep.
duration.
I think the biggest difference between now and then is what we were just talking about too. Like he's not as dominant as he used to be. Like he had every reason to stay before. I don't think he does this time around. So I don't know if winning WCS Europe would be alone like enough alone, because he's not winning everything, you know, and he
Yeah.
was back then.
It's probably pretty fun to win everything. I wouldn't know, but I bet it's pretty great. All right. Well, cheers to Stefano and best of luck to him in whatever he does. I'm sure he'll be unbelievably successful. The kid is way too smart. So let's go ahead and talk about some more StarCraft here. I'm going to go ahead and post this little link to that round of 8 for WCS Korea. Here you go, you guys. And, let's take a look at the actual bracket. Half of it was played last night, and the other half is being played tomorrow night. Sulky taking out Parting 3-2, and SOS taking out Kongho 3-2. Did you guys expect it kind of like that?
Yeah.
I'm a little surprised Parting lost, but I'm not surprised that both the series were close. I thought both could go either way. If anything, I thought SOS was going to be a pretty strong favorite over Kongho, and the other one would be close, but with Parting winning.
Yeah. Now, the game...
Big Sulky fan, so.
Game 4, Parting versus Sulky. Greg, why don't you walk us through that for a moment? Because you and I were talking about it earlier. It was pretty funny.
That was like the biggest throw I have ever seen, but I know exactly what happened. For
Okay.
anyone who wasn't watching, Sulky did a quick link build. I didn't see the exact build, so I'm not sure if it was like a 12 pool, but he got an expansion pretty quick. So I think it was just a 14 pool, and he caught Parting being kind of greedy. Got 4 links in, got him off balance, and had speed link coming really quick after. Which was a really good read on his part. You don't really do that unless you have reason to believe that your opponent is going to go gateway expand and be kind of greedy, and Parting does that. He's been caught for it before, so a good read by Sulky. And he gets the speedlings in, he cancels the natural nexus, he burns a bunch of mine time, gets a couple of probe kills, and behind this, he didn't really commit to it. He only made the 1 wave of lings. He has a ton of drones coming up. Like he was in a very, very, very dominant position.
Some
And
might
he
say unlosable. Some did say unlosable.
nearly unlosable. Did you say unlosable in the cast?
I'm pretty sure something to that effect, because I'm like, well, this is not... I mean, I think Parting and I play the same race. I found out we don't, but, I mean, go ahead.
Yeah, he
Continue,
did something magical there, but it was more so Sulky doing something that whatever the opposite of magical is. But Sulky was pretty much unlosable situation.
Sulky's a muggle, guys. Okay, you heard it here first.
But sometimes as Zerg, like in that situation, it can be really frustrating to force a Turtle Protoss out. Like if you want to do the Swarm Host Viper static defense thing, you're not going to lose at that ever, but it's going to take a long time if they don't want to leave. So he was just like, I'm so far ahead, I'm going to rush up to Vipers and go Roach Hydra Viper, and I'm going to pull all this stuff out, and I'm going to kill it, and then I'm going to kill him. And then Parting just sat behind his building wall until he had Templar to defend his Colossus, and then moved out with a max army, and Roach Hydra Viper just doesn't scale at all to a max. And so he just got kind of run over. But that's happened to every Zerg, because you're like, I'm so far ahead, I can actually just attack move him and kill him here. And if Protoss is willing to be defensive, that never ever works. And then he did. But that was a pretty bad throw there.
That was a pretty... I felt pretty stupid after commentating last night, I have to say, by the way, because like I called this completely Sulky's favor, and then of course the SOS series.
I think about that game, just to close on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that a Swarm Host Contain would have been the most efficient way to do it. Because when you're already ahead, the Locusts are always trading, and the Protoss can never get to max. But most importantly, I think that Sulky's idea wasn't the worst ever. I think that he could have ended the game, but he played it really bad in the sense that I think that he got really cocky there. Because if you watch the VOD, he kind of got maxed like 3 or 4 minutes before actually attacking. So his Vipers were super late, and then on top of that, he consumed before attacking, which is also gonna delay you for 1 extra minute. So his attack on Parting actually came like 4 minutes later than it should have, and it bought Parting time to get HTs, and that was that. But if he just timed it a little bit better, if he got to Hive a little bit better and said, you know what, by the time I get the Vipers out, I'm going to be maxed, he could have hit a lot earlier. And he also didn't need to consume. Because if you don't consume and you just run the Vipers across the map, then that saves you an extra minute, and you still have 1 abduct on each, which should be more than enough.
It might be giving them too much credit. I'm not sure what exactly they scouted because I was just kind of skipping through the VOD. But Parting was going 2-star or 2 Robo Colossus, so Sulky may have assumed that he was going to have a lot more Colossus and he was going to need a lot more Abducts. But if he had the Abducts, then it would just be over because the Colossus are all he had. And Parting actually stopped it at 4 Colossus, which is less than you would do 2 Robo 4. So there may have been mind games involved there, or he may have just gotten lucky.
I actually like to
Sulky's place.
just personally speaking on that point. I actually personally like 2 Robo to get out 4 Colossus just quicker, and then you can get enough observers and Warp Prism and stuff. Sometimes I get a 5th, but I found when you go 6, if they go Corruptors, you're screwed. So
yeah,
but yeah, that was kind of a crazy series. Sulky is like semi-quietly one of the best Zergs in the world. He might actually be able to take this GSL down.
and he actually has been for a long time. Even going back to Brood War, he was like the upcoming star, but he never gets that much attention just because all he does is play well. But yeah, his game on
That screws you,
Daybreak.
man.
I know.
He looks like a
can't do
monkey
that.
too.
He looks like a monkey.
Oh,
Yeah.
I never got that. The only thing I remember about him is he always wears a gold chain.
Does he actually look like a... I don't think he looks like a monkey, man.
I
What?
never saw a monkey with him.
Okay, someone put a picture of what's Rafiki? Rafiki, what kind of monkey is that?
Baboon?
Baboon, sure.
I think baboon.
Baboon?
Yeah.
Rafiki is the thing that holds the Lion King thing, right?
Yep. Yep.
Okay. So basically, Greg was Rafiki earlier on for us.
Yeah.
All right, hold on. I'm going to find a picture of this guy.
But yeah, that series I think was less eventful than the other one. Game 2 was pretty cool. The other 3 games were pretty straightforward, I think.
Yeah, I actually liked the Daybreak game quite a bit. It was one of the more interesting games that involved Swarm hosts CVP.
Yep. That was a pretty cool game. I think that Sulky made he played amazing with the counterattacks everywhere. He used Burrow perfectly. He was just on top of the game the entire time. Then he goes for the switch to Broodlords, which was a good idea. And I think that Protoss are slowly being like, oh, you know what, Zerg doesn't make Broodlords anymore because they suck. And then Zerg makes Broodlords as a surprise, and it's like game over. But then he didn't really push with the Broodlords, and I didn't really like that.
Well, he tried a couple times, but there was these big blink unders that kind of chased him away a little bit.
And
Yeah, but
weapons
that
in the
was
top left. That was the big thing. Parting was very good about controlling top left with Zealots while he's trying to push in.
Yeah, but I mean the Blinkins shouldn't there should be an army under the Broodlords. I feel like Sulky could have just won with the Broodlords straight up, and then he didn't push, which I think it was okay because the backbone of his army were the Storm hosts. But if you think about it, the Broodlords didn't do that much at all, and he let Parting get the Tempest out. So he ended up winning with Storm host Corruptor pretty much, which is fine too.
It was kind of a weird trading of bad decisions. He went Broodlord, which is okay in that situation, but then he didn't push right away. And you said, you kind of have to do that because if Protoss gets out of the air, then they'd had some hard counters. But then for some reason, Parting just kept making and replacing Stalkers and trying to push all in instead of switching over to the Turtle Air Army. And running Stalkers into Locusts and Broodlings is not the best approach to the matchup, in my opinion.
Yeah,
I have to disagree with you there. I think that is the best approach to the matchup.
So that didn't work out too well. And then he ended up getting Tempests, and he just switched off of Broodlords, but he kept making Tempests, so the Corruptors kind of powered through that. I don't know. It was really well played by Sulky mechanically, but they had some weird decision making. I think Parting I just think that's the wrong composition for that situation.
Yeah, the last 5 minutes of the game were just the trading of bad decisions by both, I think. Against Storm hosts, you kind of have to... I think it's fine to make Stalkers if you're actually going to go for the break, but Parting was just sitting there trading against Locusts, and it was like, what are you doing? Either you go sacrifice your Stalkers and get a Death Ball, or you push out, right? You don't just sit there with a couple Colossi hoping that the Locusts will go away, or... I don't, yeah.
Maybe aims them in the wrong direction, never looks back.
Yeah, maybe.
I felt like the biggest problem there from Parting was how slowly his second Robo came out. Because he lost his Warp Prism immediately, and that was an issue, and I feel like you really need to do a lot of Warp Prism harassment against that. And he was losing observers and then waiting for Colossus to finish to make another one, and it was even if you don't want a lot of Colossi, I think you need 2 Robos just to make sure you can have observers, Colossi, or Warp Prisms, whatever you need at the moment, immediately. in the length of like a chrono boost. So
Yeah, against the Swarm Host composition, I think 2 Robo is like mandatory immediately, just because you need both Colossus and sometimes Observers immediately.
yeah,
Yeah, and War Prisms are really good against it too.
Yeah,
Mm.
actually, all of the 3 are
Robos are important.
Yeah.
Not
Yeah.
the Immortal is not as good against Locust, but
not quite.
They are in
But
small
they're
numbers.
They're good for like dropping around and killing off hatcheries, which is still good against Swarm Hosts. So
Or they're
That's-
good against Storm
that's-
Hosts in small numbers. If you can actually get
Immortals are good against everything in small numbers, even Banshees. So
I think 2010 disagrees with you there.
yeah, that's maybe.
Steps of War, the old like 3 barracks, 2 Banshee
Okay.
push.
Don't even
two
bring
Port
up
Banshee.
Steps of Don't bring up Steps of War here, man. When that was around, even I was a Zerg player. That was terrible times.
I like Steps of War.
You would like Steps of War. See, you play a
about,
different
like-
game than the rest of us cats.
You'd go like 8 pull into expand to the gold or something, wouldn't you? I
Seven
vaguely
pull, yeah.
recall this was a cat strat.
7 pull, yeah.
definitely fast expand to the gold. It was like right
Yeah,
next to your
7 pull
push
into gold.
natural. You could like siege to the gold. He would fast expand there anyway.
I knew I made it when Protoss vetoed Steps of War against me.
That actually happened.
Wait, who vetoed Steps of War against you?
Yeah. did
Fuck,
that
I don't
happen?
know, but it happened, yeah.
That's amazing. Wow.
It's like machine 10 pool drone pulling on there against Druby. Druby's like the one person that machine doesn't like because he actually flamed him after that or something.
Oh, I used to use the. I think I stole it from Hey Pro, where you would send 2 early drones on that map and
Yeah,
take
yeah,
both
it
their
was-
gases.
It was that exact
was a
thing.
sick, you did that in a Speedling Bane. It was a sick build against Terran back then. Oh my god.
Moro had the 12 drum pull too against Terran. That was nice. Do you guys remember that? No? It
Yeah,
was
like-
I remember that.
I
I
don't
did
They
think
that.
used
so.
to
Tried to
drone
remember.
harass against Terran on that map, but Moro just pulled every drone. It was pretty funny.
Moro comes up with some weird stuff.
Well, that's
Yeah,
the basis of Moro's play is and always has been like pulling workers, right? Remember his TVTs early on? He was just like, well, now you pull all the SCVs, and it's just Marine SCV versus Marine SCV.
Yeah, the TVTs
Yeah.
between like him and Jinro during that one patch, were, like right before they became 45 HP, those were just absurd.
Oh,
There's
yeah.
like more SCVs produced in that than any other unit.
Hey, I remember those. That was bonkers. I didn't know what was
Yeah.
going on.
The game has come a long way to the point where
Moro's a really good indicator for what needs to be patched. Like he abuses like 1 or 2 units. He's like, okay, this is it. It's like one time he told me like in the early Heart of the Storm beta, he was like, I'm gonna kill you with cars. Then he just made like 1,000 Hellions. I was making roaches only, and then he morphed them all into Hellbats and he destroyed me. I was like, has anyone stopped this? And he was like, Demaga, but you need like 5 spines. I'm like, what?
I guess it would probably be impolite to bring up multiple racks Reapers with Enmar.
Yeah, and that
oh
was him too.
god.
He didn't really come up with that. That happened.
You know what?
the second week
He
of
didn't
beta.
come up with it, but he made it popular for it.
You know, there
Well,
was
made it
at
super
that
popular.
He
tournament.
learned it
at
in
that-
one night before the match.
Yeah. At that tournament in Germany, I was there playing as Zerg too, and he actually used an even more abusable strategy against me. You remember this, Greg? It was before they fixed the ramps, and he just ran over and made 2 bunkers at the bottom of my ramp,
Oh yeah.
where it
that-
would like hold it in,
that
and it was like,
happened to
oh,
everyone.
that was
I
the
like-
most terrible feeling. I wanted him to go Reapers. That was.
I like
so
I lost multiple GSL matches to that. That happened all the time. That was nothing.
That even happened recently when we used the wrong map in Beyond Business. ST was none too happy about that one.
That was dumb.
I still can't believe they let that stand.
That was rough.
I mean, that's what he probably practiced, so it would be kind of unfair, but
Yeah.
Like it was fair.
Unless
to-
you probably didn't even look. That's rough. What were we talking about? I don't even
I don't know.
remember.
It was
what we're talking
ZVP. It was ZVP, and then I
Oh,
got
Sulky.
bored.
Sulky's matchup.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, that's right. Let's make Iaguz board again. Let's talk about SOS against Kongho a little bit, because that was a crazy series. That was hard to cast.
It was so weird. Like Congo
Yeah.
refused to play properly in any of the games, and then SOS was just like, okay, I'll be weirder with units that counter your weirdness.
He was the weirdest. Like the 2 base, the gateway expand into 3 gases into 2 starport, into 5 phoenixes move out, into 6 void rays kill your lair, take a third. What was I watching? It was like so hard to predict what he was doing.
I think
Yeah, it
Kangho
was
did like a
weird.
different 2-base build every single time. And it wasn't even like the 2-base double upgrade Lings into Ultra that's become somewhat common. It was just different weird 2-base builds. It was like not even describable.
Yeah,
I,
like
I'm really
game one.
impressed.
Game one was. Go ahead.
I'm really impressed with how well SOS responded to it, unless that's just like how Kangho plays, and he knew that from practice games or previous matches or something. Because to respond like that on the fly with weird stuff of your own is pretty hard to do in a tournament match, and he did it really well.
Yeah.
And in very unusual ways. It wasn't just like he played normally and powered through it. He was responding intelligently and making changes to his play and actually dealing with whatever weird stuff Kangho decided to pull out per game.
Yeah. Well,
I think I don't
SOS
know.
is the weirder one, though, I have to say. Like,
Yeah, I think that
Kangho's
Kangho
stylistic,
had
but
actually.
yeah.
Yeah, I think it was Kangho having trouble adapting to what SOS was doing, more so than the other way around. Because Kangho's unit compositions were so bad towards the last games. It was
They
like
were.
so bad.
But he was always the one choosing to open with the 2-base and then go to attack, so I felt like he was the one like driving the weirdness.
Which is
Maybe.
like a weird strat against SOS that who's kind of known for being out there with his builds. Like he always has some weird stuff that no one really uses, and I feel like probably if he was going to go 2-base, it should have been to get Overlord speed right away. You know, try to figure out what's going on. But
To me,
what
it
did you
almost
guys?
felt. Go ahead.
I was going to
To me,
say,
it almost felt like.
you tell me to go ahead and then start talking again. What is this? Oh my
Oh,
god!
you
No,
shut
go
up.
ahead, Catz. Go ahead. I'm
No.
going to mute my microphone for you.
I was gonna say it almost felt like Kangho studied SOS a lot, judging by the first few games. But then SOS just started doing different shit, and Kangho didn't know what to do.
He started
Is what
making air units, is what he did.
Yeah,
actually.
yeah.
Air units and DTs, and that kind of
Yeah.
did him in. I have
Yeah.
actually been.
What did you guys think about like air unit charge lot DT? Because Tasteless was talking to me after. He's like, it kind of reminds me of Corsair DT against Zerg in StarCraft One. I'm like, I don't know. It's the DTs are just mixed in there because they'll kill the Zealots first probably because of where the detection's placed, and then just all this stuff in the air is going to be dead and like. I don't know. It was weird, but it was kind of cool.
I don't feel like in practice it's like Corsair DT because every once in a while you get someone who did like a heavy Corsair DT, like actual pressure build, but usually it was just harassment and map control, whereas this was like a full-on army of it. And I think it was very good against Kangho because he kept refusing to make Hydras. I don't think he made like a single one in any of the
He did not.
matches. And to deal with that composition, you need Roach Hydra. Like lots of Roaches to tank against the Zealots, and then Hydras behind is obviously DPS and anti-air. And he just kept going like Corruptors. And so what happens there is it's kind of like what happens when you go Ultras plus stuff against a Protoss. You like smash through the army, and then usually their Void Rays are left, but your Ultras destroy everything on the ground. Well, the Zealots destroy everything on the ground, but then the problem is even if the Corruptors are left over, and they never were, but even if the Corruptors were left over, they can't do anything about the Zealots.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of weird. You
And in
need
fact-
a beefy grounding army there.
At the
Yeah,
end
for
of that
Fungal.
game, the Daybreak game, it was actually like he had all the flying units left, and there was like one infester on the map,
Yeah.
and that was it. So it was like, oh, I guess there's no possibility of killing off 6 Void Rays from here. That's just it was kind of funky though because he like overkills with it. He overkills one or the other, and if you don't, I feel like if you don't have like a perfect unit composition against what he did, then you're just like a midway unit composition is never going to do okay against that. I think it has to be just as you said, like a perfectly formulated set of units, or he's either going to kill all your anti-ground or all your anti-air, and you're totally screwed after that.
Yeah.
Well, there's like if you have fungal and Hydras, or even fungal and queens and static defense, if you're playing defensively, then it works out fine because Zealots clump up, Void Rays clump up. If you can hold any chunk of their army in place, then you can tear it apart pretty easily with chain fungals. But he was never getting Hydras, like Greg said. He was getting Corruptors, which are terrible against Void Rays, and then he barely had anything on the ground. I think it was game 4 was just so painful to watch because, okay, SOS hit the Void Rays pretty well, and then he was starting to show he actually really likes charge lots and Void Rays and Phoenix. Then Kangho randomly makes like 6 Muta or 7 Muta for no reason when there's like 6 Phoenix and Void Rays out already. And then with his push, you said it's gonna come to spell casting, right? It was like a lot of queens, It was a lot of infestors, a lot of corruptors, and one storm host. It's like, what the fuck is that? What is that supposed to be? Even if you fungal everything,
It's a
and
good
you kill
point.
all the air, you know, it's like there's like
That's-
2 zealots kill the storm host and you're dead. And
It's
then
a
he tried to
decent
spam.
anti-muta-comp, but
Yeah, and then he tried
Yeah,
to
he
like
had, like,
spawn
5 mutas.
mass infested Terrans, and it's like, what? Like, who makes infested Terrans
That
anymore?
was-
They're so
I
bad.
got angry about that. Now, am I wrong to say that was the worst thing he could have done? Was just throw down infested Terrans against size? Like he started the chain fungal. He's like, all right, infested Terran time. It's
Yeah.
like, well,
If
what?
If we go back to Wings before the patch that made infested Terrans worthless, that would have been a really good idea. But unfortunately, they just kind of died.
Yeah, and the way why that fight was so one-sided was because Kangho was relying on the infested Terrans to be his DPS and what killed the ground army too. It was like he had 1 or 2 swarm hosts. If he had 10 swarm hosts instead, that's a completely different fight, I think.
I think he did actually have like 5 or 6 swarm hosts, but they all got picked
I
up
think
by
he
the
had
Phoenix.
5 or 6, but yeah.
But they all got picked up by the Phoenix Graviton, so they weren't in the battle anyway.
No, well, that's too bad. It was
Yeah.
that game and the Daybreak game both looked so one-sided, just because it looked like like Kangho didn't really know what units to make, and Corruptors are shit against Void Rays, and someone should have told them.
Imagine that. Like he's sitting there right now watching the show, somehow understanding English and caring, and he's like, corruptor. Oh, they are. Oh my god, I thought they were anti-air. What is this? Oh, sorry.
I tweeted at him after watching those games. Hopefully he reads it.
That's
Yeah.
terrible.
No, it
like-
was today,
He, like,
not
just
right
got
after.
knocked out at- He
No,
just
no.
got knocked out at GSL, and he looks online. It's like, this random foreigner is telling me that Corruptors suck, and this is how I should play.
Who the hell is Catz? He's like, are you in the round of 8 of GSL?
He follows me on Twitter.
Does he?
Whoa.
Yeah.
That must feel nice. I wonder if he follows me on Twitter. I suddenly feel insecure. Okay, so let's. Any other thoughts about SOS versus Kangho? Because it was pretty crazy. It was a fun match, but
Yeah. I think that Kangho did a better job of studying his opponent, and SOS did a better job of adapting. Game 1 was sick. He was like, okay, I know you're not gonna make a Zealot or a Stalker, just a Mothership Core, so I'll just kill you.
mm-hmm.
So that was pretty nice. The SOS fake 4-gate into DT is definitely going to become a thing, and I think we should stress on that, because it was such a sick build. It didn't work, but it was
It should have, though. It should have worked. He actually, if he warps in 3 DTs at once, man, he wins that game. For sure he wins that game.
Not only that, but he was focused on defending the counterattack by Kangho, which was kind of nice. It didn't do shit, but the DTs didn't do anything, or not as much as they could have because of that, too.
Yeah.
Like, he didn't focus the spores properly. They were targeting queens and hatcheries at points.
Yeah. They were actually walking into areas that had spores instead of areas that didn't. Like, if he had focused completely on that, I don't think the counterattack would have done enough to make it scary, you know? Like, he would have done so much more damage, and that follow-up attack would have killed. That was my favorite build the whole night. That one and the Daybreak game were both really cool.
Yeah.
But the I'm definitely going to give that one a try.
Yeah, I've been waiting for 2-base Archons to, 2-base Archon onlys to start happening versus 2-base Zerg. Because unless they put up a bunch of Spine Crawlers and actually go a bunch of Roaches, I don't know if you hold it. Because none of the Zergling-based stuff is going to hold it at all. Just like, even if you have like 5 Spine Crawlers, if you're doing the pure Zergling into Hive thing, I think you die. And if you're going Mutas, obviously, you die.
Yeah.
But
Go ahead.
It was a really good read by Kangho just to expect that follow-up and get a bunch of Roaches, because that's the one thing that actually holds it and beats it down.
Yeah.
Yeah, it seemed like he was expecting it, because he was great preemptively too. And that fight was so amazing. Like, Kangho's the guy that has like 5 million APM, and then in the fight, SOS gets like sick force fields, and Kangho doesn't move a fucking inch. That was brilliant. It was like, you know what, I got it. He didn't even try to move anything.
Yeah.
That was awesome to me, that he just like stayed there with
He
the
knew,
road.
he knew. And, well, once you see that into DTs like that, when you know that they start off with the 4-gate, I think that it was kind of obvious it was going to be Charge Lot Archon. So when you have that many Zealots, it's not like you're going to be like, all right, it's time to go blink. You know? That would be weird.
Yeah.
But, all right. So tomorrow is Roro versus Innovation. Oh. And Bomber versus Symbol. What do you guys think about these matches? And Iaguz, welcome back! Because
Oh,
there's some
yeah,
Terrans
right.
to talk
I was
about.
wondering-
Yay!
I was wondering why you had me on this show. No, I'm interested to see if innovation finally like innovates because currently he's just been doing 3 command centers into kill every Zerg, and Roar knows how to, I think, knows how to like prepare really well.
Hmm.
For a lot of specific things. So like innovation will probably win because it's innovation. At least I hope he wins. I want a good TVZ finals. And Bomber, I don't know about Bomber. Like he's a little. He always has like really weird build orders that make a lot of sense, like, but not immediately. I guess. I don't know.
I think I know what you mean. Do you think he actually takes out Symbol though? Because I feel like Symbol's gonna beat Bomber for sure. I have this feeling.
It's impossible to say, but like, I don't know. I'm just hoping for good games, good interesting games
Mm.
that hopefully Terran wins.
Oh. Greg,
Yeah,
what
I
do you
don't
think, man?
I don't think innovation really needs to innovate because no one can come anywhere close to him playing standard. So, I mean, as long as it's working, just keep doing it. I don't see Roro beating him. He's just like too good at everything he does. He's like the cleanest play we've seen by far in StarCraft 2, and he has everything figured out really, really cleanly, and like just enough diversity that you can't try and hard counter him. And even if you do, like the style he plays doesn't really have a hard counter. It's just generically good. So I don't know, I see him winning that pretty easily, despite how good Roro is. And Symbol versus Bomber, I don't know, it's weird. They're both older players, like older in that they've been around. They're ESF players and they've been around since Wings and stuff. And they're on and off. They both have periods of brilliance, and they're both in the round 8, so maybe it's a period of brilliance for both of them. But I haven't seen Bomber play recently, so I don't really know what he's doing. I don't know.
Oh.
I feel like. Go ahead.
I think he played. Didn't he play Symbol recently in GSTL? I think he was on Star Station and he was doing a build where he didn't open Hellions early, and he was
What?
just getting to like
He's always been a
That's
fan of
against-
mass marine openings.
yeah, he was getting like Marines and Medevacs really early, and Symbol went for like a really quick third hatch without scouting because it's Bomber, like whatever, and he just randomly like made a bunch of 1/1 Link speedbait and killed him.
That happens to
I
him
think
a
that
lot,
was-
actually.
I think that
Yeah,
was
because
against
he never gets
Symbol.
tanks. He always
Yeah.
plays bio.
Yeah. I feel like
He
if
didn't
he,
have-
if as long as
Go
he's
ahead.
willing to adapt to HOTS just a little bit, I feel like Bomber could be amazingly scary because he always loved to just macro and like send units at you. And with Bio Widowmine, that kind of thing is actually really, really powerful. That's like the smartest way to play right now, as long as you keep expanding behind it. So it's actually like perfectly suited to him as long as he just starts incorporating the Widowmines in his play. And I assume he has to be doing that. So his TVZ and HOTS might actually be really, really good. But I haven't seen it, so it's kind of hard to predict.
Yeah. As far
Nothing
as
stands out in my mind for Bomber's TVZs lately.
But he never really stands out in your mind. He's always just like the guy who's around and he beats people, and sometimes in spectacular fashion, but no one remembers it anyway. It's kind of weird.
Yeah.
I don't know. I remember him dropping everywhere all the time. That's like his thing, I think. And like he always just goes bio and I don't know. It's nice. And he's always he was one of the players that used Ravens a lot in Wings of Liberty. So Ravens are better now. So that might play to his advantage.
Yeah, he had those horrible games against Ghost User at the MLG where it was
I
like
was
2 hours
thinking of
long. Him just like making Ravens and messing around, like diving his
And, like-
medevacs in, and yeah.
Oh, that
Yeah.
was sweet. Come on, that
Seeker
worked.
whistling the medevac and just
No,
That was
those
sick.
those moves were cool, but the games were atrocious.
Yeah, perhaps.
But he does like his
Yeah,
Ravens. The Ravens are pretty good now.
The other thing about Bomber is I swear he's the biggest like pull all SCVs and attack against Protoss. Like I remember against
Lots of
Creator.
Koreans do that though.
No, I didn't know if all Koreans did. I just noticed Bomber doing it more.
Innovation.
He
is
did it
all
like
about
5
that, too.
times, I
Yeah.
swear, against Creator in the round of 32.
I know. It feels like every time I see a TVP series with a Korean Terran, that happens at least once, if not twice. They all seem to love it.
It's a good build, man. You hit that right
it
before
is-
Storm, and it's like, well, sup, look how many hit points my crap has. It's like, oh.
It's so fun, especially when you're behind. Like, well, I fucked up. I'm probably gonna lose. Let's just pull all
Here's my
SCVs and get them.
chance.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's stupid, but it's fun.
I think that Roro Innovation is not going to be one-sided though. I think that Roro is going to put up a fight and maybe even win. He's so
That
fucking good.
I agree with that because I think there's only 3 Zergs that might be able to kill Innovation, and that would have been Life, who we've already proven can't, and then Sulky and Roro. So even though I still think Innovation's probably going to win the season, there's those two could take him out. And here's the other thing: SOS can take him out because his PBT is so good.
Yeah.
He's so tricky and so smart at it. So this is not like a free walkthrough for him. But if he beats Roro, that's going to mean a lot because Roro's like, he's the same he was in StarCraft 1. He's like a 3-hatch Zerg, you know, instead of a 2-hatch Zerg. He's like very standard macro. This is how you play Zerg well with skill.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Innovation's
Yeah.
like the same thing except better at it.
Yeah, but I could see
I don't know,
Roro maybe taking him out.
I saw Sulky dismantle Innovation in a game on Whirlwind on Pro League, and
The Ling Baneling aggression game.
yeah,
Yeah.
it kind of looked a lot like the game against Partying on Daybreak, just like kind of attacking everywhere and Partying not being able to keep up too well. So I don't know if Roro studied that and like Sulky just went for Innovation's economy that game over and over, and he wasn't being cost efficient. He was exploding Banelings on CCs and just going crazy on it, but he kept an advantage like that. I don't know that anyone can beat Innovation if you just let him sit there and you're like, okay, don't touch me, I won't touch you, and let's see what happens. But I think that you can throw him off his game if you like hurt his economy consistently.
Yeah, I think going to Hive Tech against him is a serious mistake because that's when he starts exploding with drops and like he really, really understands the late game PvZ and he has the multitasking to do it. But you're right, mid game, I think every Terran honestly has that weakness mid game just because those Ling Baneling attacks, it just takes a couple of good Baneling hits to get you off guard. And then as long as you're macroing well, it's just a constant stream of Zerglings. And you can use Widow Mines actually more to your favor than to theirs in those situations just because they're never set up to actually defend them with their bio and stuff. So yeah, that could always happen, but I just don't see Roro doing it. I would love to see Innovation versus Sulky in the finals, so I think that would be an amazing match.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Well, I would like to see SOS versus Innovation in the final, so screw you guys. That would be an actually sick match.
No.
So, all right, we're going to do some quick picks for who wins this side of the bracket, or rather who our round of 4 match will be. Who's going to be Catz?
I'll take Roro and Bomber.
Wow, okay. Idra, who's it going to be?
I think Innovation symbol. With Innovation, like, destroying him.
Iaguz, your choices.
Innovation and his next victim.
All right, that's fair enough. I think you're actually right there. It's going to be Innovation's next victim, who I think will be Symbol. Okay, we're going to jump to a real quick little commercial break, everyone. Don't go away because we have like the real fun topics to talk about next, including Katz's offensive hatchery in Zerg vs. Terran. So we'll be right back. Pros always want to have gear that's exactly fitted to their needs.
Something I've always dreamed about doing is using my experience as a gamer to make gear for people like me.
We're working with TT Esports to make the exact mouse, keyboard, and headset that we've always wanted to use.
When you're doing anything that you love to do, the tools that you're using matter the most.
We're designing these products from scratch to make sure that your gaming experience is completely seamless. The gear I use to play the game
Are the tools I use to win.
Hey everyone, welcome back. It's we're done with the commercial. It's time to talk about something very interesting. This is a strategy that Catz has, and we all looked at the replays. We're going to throw something up on screen so people can get a little inkling of it. Basically, well, Catz, why don't you go ahead and explain it? This is your strat that you've had a lot of success with so far.
Yeah, basically, I always scout at 13 in CVT because I find it helpful. You can scout the gas, get out of their base, and react. But whenever I scout at CC first on the high ground, and if I can scout the SCV going down and block the CC first on the low ground, Then what I do is I drop my third hatchery in their natural. So I go 3 hatch before pool with my third hatchery being in their natural, and I think that by far it is the best response to CC first on the high ground. It's like a hard counter. Yeah, I don't know if we should go over it by parts or. That's the intro to the build.
Yes, that is the intro. Now we've watched a bunch of these replays, and he has beaten some really good players with it. First off, from your Iaguz, Idra, what do you guys think about? Because you've looked at it a little bit, and let's not just point out like what we saw in the replays, but just theory crafting as well. What do you guys think about this build?
Generally, when the Terran sees it, like in these replays, it's been with their first Marine, and it's not with like an SCV, so it means they can't bunker it. I think if they bunker the hatchery directly, and they don't stop to make a reactor, they just keep making Marines, then I don't think you can build anything off of it. And you can't, like, you can stop the bunker if they see it with the Marine, because you have time to get lings there, but if the SCV sees it, like, maybe they're building the bunker really early, because it doesn't actually affect your timings at all to do so, that would probably not end well for you.
Did you watch the replays, all of them?
I did watch all of them. I only went back to watch Theognis's one to see if like it was just the Marine that saw it.
Theognis's one is probably the worst example of it, but because it's a late hatch and whatnot. But what happens is even if you make a bunker, I bring the 2 drones and make spines outside of the range of the bunker. And then if you actually want to kill those spines, I will have way more links than you have Marines. So you can.
Yeah, then you just dance in between the crawler and the bunker. Like if it's a bunker on the low ground, that's not too difficult.
Yeah, but eventually the spine crawlers get up unless you're actually attacking them.
Yeah. It's like it's the most common response is to make a bunker right away, to be completely honest. And it doesn't really stop anything. The queen always pops out. Initially, what my idea with this was is I'll just get the queen out and delay for as long as possible. But then I found out it's like much more effective than that. The spines are so vital and they can do so much damage and contain them for so very long. And then sometimes I get like creep spread going to the half of the map from their base, which is nice.
That's horrible.
I feel like from when I was looking at this, I was really trying to theorize like what would I do against this and what does this actually gain if someone does something well against it. I felt like just the amount of time to clear the creep is the real advantage here, because you have to get something to clear 2 spines and a handful of lings, and then you have to clear all the creep, which is going to, as Catz, you just said, be going backwards. So that was my first inkling. Idra, what do you think about this stuff?
My first response to it, like we talked about it a bit before the show, my first response to it was, what if they just kind of, because basically what happens is everyone sees it and they kind of panic and they send stuff down the ramp, and half the time the stuff dies to the Zerglings or to the spine crawlers or whatever, and then from there it's just insurmountable for the Terran. My first response was they should just sit up the ramp, run on 2 mules for a little while, like just off the one base, get up to maybe a tank or some bio and break out, and then go ahead and take their expansions. But after talking to him, like he says, it's just he ends up with 3 bases. It takes so long to get out and actually clear the creep. Plus, if you make more than like really 16, kind of 24 SCVs, you're actually mining oversaturation. That's just a waste. But if you don't make any more than that, then you're not going to be able to take your natural right away anyway. So it's just a really, really uncomfortable situation for Terran, as long as you make sure you have all your timings right in terms of defending their push out. But yeah, I'm not sure what Iaguz said about if you see it with the SCV first, then putting down a bunker and getting it up in time. That may be the case. But the thing is, you have to go out of your way to scout it with the SCV. Like on most maps, just your wall-in doesn't see it. So the reason they're only seeing it with Marine is because that's what's comfortable and natural.
Yeah, like that's true. Like that's what's going to happen most of the time. I do know that you can use the SCV that finishes the racks to make the bunker. It doesn't change any of the other timings. I think maybe that's just if you're not SCV scouting, if you're just going to wait till Hellions, and that would see the hatchery.
So I sent you guys a replay where it didn't work. And that was like he was blind countering it basically. Rossi, Australian as well, pretty good Terran.
Yeah, he's pretty good.
Yeah. Did you watch that one? Like he actually blind countered it. But,
I don't think you sent that one actually, but
I didn't.
No.
Well, fuck me.
No pro gamer has ever sent a replay they lost in. Let's be realistic.
I thought I sent it. But anyways, what he did was instead of building a third command center or taking the gases, he took a really fast second racks. Then he asked me to do the strat again because he lost against it, and then he blind countered it. But what ends up happening then is he has to pull SEVs and go into 2 racks, and the hatch still doesn't die before it finishes, and the queen's like halfway done. So, like with just the 1 racks, I think it's impossible to actually not let the queen come out, or the spines for that matter. But even then, I think that you're still ahead if you identify that they're in 2 racks or that they're pulling SEVs to kill the hatchery. If you just drone up behind it instead of making the links, so you take a small advantage instead of a free win, which is kind of what happens when you pull mass drones against.
Okay, so the ultimate counter to this, then, you think, and I think everyone is kind of agreeing, is if you scout it right away and add a second racks and bring SCVs down, that's going to be the best deal?
I don't know if that even seems like.
I think so. But
you think? The thing is, do you cancel the hatch in that case?
No.
Or is it too late and you have to let it finish?
No, you let it finish for the creep as well. But basically, I think that you're still ahead if that happens. I think that this build is actually a hard counter to CC on the high ground, much like Cannon Rush is considered a hard counter to Hatch First, but I actually don't think it is. Yeah, that's...
I also noticed that you get link speed really late, and that your mineral lines aren't really very defended. Have you ever had someone like slip Hellions around, either through a drop or just running past both the crawlers?
Yeah, they can run past the crawlers with like up to 4 Hellions, but that only delays the amount of time that it takes them to get out. So I usually have like 1 spine and a couple queens, and if I see Hellions, I make lings. I mean, you might lose a couple drones, but I don't think it's very good for the deterrent. And again, that's what you're producing at the factory, so it takes forever to actually
if you actually invest in those Hellions, you're never going to get out of your base. So if they don't do a ton of damage, I don't think that would really pay off.
Yeah, that's happening. Pretty much anything that can happen. I usually lose games with it only if I fuck up real big. Like I did it on ATC on a clan war against Mouse Illusion, and I actually lost. But what happened was I had 3 spines and I uprooted them all at the same time. So he just went down and killed them without taking any damage whatsoever. But that was like instant facepalm. But even then, the game was still pretty even for like 15 minutes, and then he just, he was a player. So I actually don't think that there is a hard counter to this. I think that this is the hard counter to CC First on the high ground.
Now, it seems like we have a few somewhat splitting opinions here. Idra and Iaguz, do you guys think that this is actually something that could be worked into Zerg play once people... Like, is this something that theoretically we could actually see become somewhat normal? Not necessarily every time, like, this is what you have to do in this situation, but something that is actually a viable choice, even against players that have played against it before.
Well, as a surprise, it's certainly incredibly powerful. Like, I think you lose to it the first time you see it, almost no matter
Agreed.
what.
Yeah.
Agreed.
But beyond that, is it actually good? I don't know. I would have to play with it a bit, because there's just so many situations and responses. Like, one, Ghosty Terran keeps messaging me about you just go cloak Banshee into brain tank Banshee. And I'm not sure, that doesn't, like, just like intuitively, that doesn't seem like it would be a hard counter. I'm not sure why that's what he thinks you should do.
I mean, you're going Muta behind it, right?
Yeah, and if you just put up spores, then the Banshees are pretty much, like, they're not going to really do anything. And doing that composition off 1 base, mutiling Bane, or even just mutiling would destroy it. So that seems kind of weird to me. But now he's going to message me a bunch more, and I don't want to talk to him. So.
The actually, the Ognis as a response to Fitzy doing it on one of the in-house games, he said he got a Raven and a tank, and he found that to be somewhat efficient. But again, that's such a huge investment.
Why the Raven?
Fear the creep.
Okay.
The thing is, you have to use if you don't get a Raven, because a Raven like pops into my mind for this, and then I remember terrible games where I had to go Science Vessel and Starcraft really quick, and that didn't work. But you have to do at least like 3 scans to get rid of all that creep, I think, if you come down with a siege tank, right? Like, at least. And then the creep is if they've been really on top of it, pushing it, and like maybe laid another tumor, it might even be more than that. So it's like,
The thing is, you have to do it fast, otherwise the active tumor just keeps expanding away from you, so there's still creep there,
Yeah.
and it just takes more and more scans.
yeah. And so if you go siege tank to clear it, you might need that, right? Because it's not the quickest way to clear it. Siege tank definitely, right?
No, it's not. It's the siege tank is the most common response because they see the spines here. That's how you take them down without taking damage. But it's the worst, I think. And to touch on what Iaguz was saying earlier, I do get the link speed pretty late. But I used to get the link speed a lot earlier. Before I started, like on the game against the Ognis, I like don't know what Terran can and can't have at that point. So I overmake links. I get speed too fast. I still win that game, but now I realize that you can actually just take a third, delay the speed, get a like 3-base muta going, and it's pretty powerful. But when I did get the speed faster, what would happen most of the time? But now this is on the realm of gimmicks, because I don't think that's gimmicky. but what would happen most of the time is when Terran moves down the ramp to clear the creep, they would just die to mass speedlings. But again, like that's not ideal because I feel like if they know that's what I'm gonna do, then they can hard counter that. But I don't think the strat in itself has a hard counter. But yeah, I mean that's just circle now.
Yeah, I'm
You could start an
kind of
eBay at
agreeing
the
with
natural.
Idra. Like, I'm a.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I don't
was-
add anything to this conversation. Go
No,
ahead.
That's fine.
that was worth
It's
finding.
fine. It's fine. Yeah, I'm kind of agreeing with Idra here. Like, my first reaction was kills you the first time because it's really surprising and your initial response is probably gonna be bad. But like, I was kind of skeptical that it would be solid. But like, I don't know. I'd probably have to play against it and lose a bunch before I made a real opinion.
Nothing
It's
strikes
interesting
me.
though.
Yeah, nothing strikes me as this kills this flat out. It doesn't like it's not viable if they have any idea what they're doing. So I would have to play with it because there's just so many different weird little situations that you'd have to test out and see if the timings work and see if you can hold them or see if there's something you can scout and then react to. But there's nothing that strikes me as a flat out. This means this will fail unless the early bunker stuff just shuts it down. And
Yeah.
Right.
The thing that I like the most about this strat is that there's not a heavy investment in it. Like it's not by any means an all-in. It's a hatchery that's guaranteed to buy time and have the Terrans stay on one base no matter what they do for a little while. And then it's spinecrawlers that are gonna, retain the Terran in their base no matter what composition they do for a little while. And if they move out early, then they'll do damage and potentially stop it. It's not like you're preparing a huge all-in or anything behind it. You're just playing normal behind it. So it's an investment of, I don't know, let's call it 700 minerals, but you're guaranteed damage no matter what. So that's why I think, I don't know. I don't think, I have never felt behind if I don't fuck something up really hard while doing this. But if you guys tested, I would love to hear opinions back.
Well, that's actually a really good question. Idra,
I'll
are
give
you
you,
going
like,
to test this at all?
yeah, I might as well. I mean, I always scout pretty early in order to see if they're going to 14cc or proxy Rex anyway, because with the 14cc, I like to go, obviously, 3 hatch before pool, but like the normal version. And if they proxy Rex, then you have to respond to it. So, like, might as well just try this instead if you're already going to scout it. It seems interesting enough, and I'm sure it gives you plenty of free wins, because if someone doesn't know what it is, then they're just like, what the hell is that? And then they send a few SCVs, Marines down. And then the Zerglings kill that, and then they're trapped, and then they're dead.
Yeah.
What were you going to
Like-
say, Iaguz?
Oh. Pretty much.
I love your
mostly what
thinking
Idra was
pose.
saying.
It's the best.
Mostly what Idra was saying, like, and I'm still not. I don't know. That build's really weird. I'm not sure what I think. Sorry,
That's a pretty good
that wasn't
summary.
helpful.
That's a pretty
No
good summary of
offense
the discussion. That build is really weird.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
That's been a lot
think I
of
had
the
a good
discussion
thought, but I
today,
lost it.
actually, so far.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to put you... Let's do some role-playing, Iaguz. You are
Oh, sure.
a Terran on the ladder, a really skilled Australian Terran, and I'm Catz. And we're playing against each other, and you're trying to go command center first, and you see my hatchery going up. What do you do? in that game, your first game on the ladder hitting it. And do you win?
Cancel CC, add 3 racks, and I mean,
Sick strat. You win with this?
Actually, I don't know. No, because you just said that,
No,
like,
there's no way.
no,
You'd
he
have
would
to go
make a
straight
spine
to the-
crawler and you'd lose.
yeah.
Yeah, even
It
if he
could be
runs
like
past
a
it,
spine.
like
It's 3 hash
it's not like
before the
you're.
pull, though.
Yeah,
Three
but
hash
your
before
pulse
the pull.
only delayed. You know, like it's
Yes,
as if
that's
saying
standard.
that yeah, it wouldn't.
Oh.
The racks are also delayed.
I'd probably try the tank first. And you say it's the weakest, so I'd probably lose. But I'd probably like try the tank into Banshee and try and do like a Marine tank Banshee push. As soon as you sort of clear out the hatchery and just go attack him. See if that and like hope that works.
Play like it's
That'd probably be my
2010.
first go. Yeah,
I could see that
Except I don't-
2010 push having a little bit of a comeback against this strat, maybe. I don't know.
except I don't have to go siege tech. I can save money.
That's right.
More Banshees.
Huh. Okay, so I think we've talked this strategy to death. I'll be interested to hear if Iaguz, you hit it. Please let me know if you beat it and what with. And Idra, I'll be interested to see if you actually try this on your stream because it seems too cheesy for you and your persona. So,
I don't know. I do weird stuff like that every once in a while.
do you?
If I get annoyed, because like they're going 14 CC, so that's already like kind of non-standard and weird and like eco cheese. Actually, when they put it in the wall in, it doesn't die to anything, so it's hardly even greedy. It's just fucking tearing. So I don't know. That justification doesn't really work there.
All right.
I probably won't sig because I usually low ground my CC. I dare Zergs to 10 pull me.
You can.
Yeah, I do.
How does that dare go for you with low ground?
Oh yeah,
CC
I just
example?
lose this game.
You
Excellent.
can if you see the logo like because you scout at 13. If you scout them first, assuming it's or if it's a 2-player map, if you can identify or see the SCV moving down and you know as you're going up the ramp, it usually times out well so that when you're going up the ramp, the SCV is coming down and you see no barracks, you can just follow the SCV, assume it's a CC first, and block it, and then they make it up.
That sounds
So you
about
can
right.
force it. Yeah.
So
Yeah, that makes
4-player
sense.
maps is a little bit. Does the timing actually work on 4-player maps to make it hit?
One of the replays on Whirlwind against the
Yeah,
Iaguz,
but was
he
that
got it in
luck based
blasting,
or was
he did.
that actually you have it timed?
That was off like it was. I scouted him last, so the third hatch went up at like 450 minerals. I had to delay my queens. I still ended up winning, but I don't think I was in the best spot. So if you scout him last, it's not ideal.
Okay. Okay.
And,
so you
and
can just
if,
play
he had,
normal.
if he had put the CC on the low ground there would have been nothing to do about it. Cause
Oh, yeah,
it just would have been on the low ground.
Yeah,
You can't
it's
just make
nice.
you can't just make the hatchery right next to it and force a lift.
I don't
This is a
think-
real question,
maybe-
guys. Maybe I'm
Uh,
stupid, but
No, actually, it doesn't sound. It doesn't sound completely off.
I don't know
have
what
never
about the
tried
CC
it.
scares your hatchery, but I mean,
Yeah, exactly. I've actually never tried that, and I don't see no reason for which it shouldn't work.
yeah.
Well,
Maybe
they
it's
see it. My only concern with it would be that they see it immediately, so then they drop the bunker immediately, and just like the situation we were talking about earlier.
Yeah, maybe. But again, I don't think that's a hard counter, so I don't know.
It depends on how
Uh,
well
ha-
that works.
Have you ever hit that
think
one
there's-
like? Have you ever hit that one Terran who still goes 15 like the 2 Raxes after command center first?
That was what Rossi did.
Yeah,
as
but
a-
Rossi had already seen it though. Like I'm talking someone who's going into it fresh.
no.
Like you played Bomber or something.
That's
He's
something
the
that-
person who still does that.
yeah.
Yeah, that's something that I mentioned to Greg too. I think it's like for the current metagame, it gives you a lot of 100% free wins. You know, whereas if we were playing a year ago, then I think it would still give you a slight advantage, but it wouldn't be a free win because of that kind of build. You know, like 1 Rex double or 1 CC double Rex, because that stops it. But at what cost?
But
Where
at
does
what
that
cost
come
would be-
from? I mean, I always see that in my stream chat and everything, but where did that start? What is it?
I have no idea.
I don't know. It's one of those.
Is it from the campaign or something?
I don't know.
No way. It's one of those. What do you call those things?
Meme.
Meme.
Yeah.
Yeah, but memes start.
Thanks,
some-
Catz, professor of the internet. It's a meme. Whoa.
Oh, that explains it. Now it makes perfect sense.
Oh, okay, I get it now. Belay that meme. Okay. I think that does it for Katz's strat for now. Thank you for bringing that up, Catz, and being brave in talking about this absolutely wacky thing. I'm excited to see if anyone starts doing this. If I see this, like imagine Innovation Sulky Finals Game 7. Sulky does this and beats Innovation.
And then he thanks us and specifically.
Oh, and when he gets on
interview.
stage, he has tears in his eyes. He's like, "Thank you, Catz," and he kisses the trophy.
Oh, I'd be so happy.
What a wonderful
It's-
moment that would be.
I was talking to you about this, but like it sucks when you like do shit forever and then eventually you see it happen
Yeah.
later on, and it's like, fuck me. Like,
Catz is the hipster Zerg, man, for sure.
It's like every Zerg that used to make Infestors before Stefano.
Yeah.
It's like Ling and
Yeah.
Infestor, that's Stefano's build.
I have
Yeah.
interviews from the beta saying that infestors were fucking good. I
I have replays from the beta just abusing the neural parasite for 50 energy. I used to grab mules on
Oh.
Kulas and just run them out of the line because it was so easy.
the Maga was like really good at that. He would go one base infestor, just like
Oh,
nerf
yeah.
parasite the Hellion harass.
It was good, man.
just
Oh,
remember
man.
praying. I just remember praying for people to do the Thor drop against me because then you neural parasite and all of a sudden you got a Thor.
Oh,
Alright,
the
what's
good
next?
old days when infestors were actually broken. Oh my god. Okay, next discussion topic, and in fact, I think it'll probably be the last discussion topic. I want to talk a little bit about Widow Mines in TVZ, and because we've seen a few metagame shifts, and it seems like,
Get happy.
yeah. Well,
Widow
I've
Mines, man.
I've heard some quotes from Iaguz where from ACL Brisbane, I think it was, you were talking about like, well, what you do is you make Widow Mines and then you win. And I want to know if you still think that. Let's talk about Widow Mines a whole bunch. Go.
I've had to develop that a bit. You make Widow Mines, you micro it just a little bit, and then you win.
Oh, okay, so it's changed. Idra, I suppose that you agree with this, correct?
Pretty much. I'm not sure if like it just doesn't. It's not as easy as it seems, or if I'm just not recognizing it. But it feels like a lot of Terrans actually don't do the like change target micro to preserve your Widow Mine shots for the banelings. But if you actually do that, Zerg doesn't engage efficiently. Like it cannot happen. Like if they actually target down your banelings.
Yeah, a lot of
I don't really know what to do.
Terrans I have not seen do that, where I'm like, well, if he targets the banelings here, he's going to be good, and then it hits 3 Zerglings in the front. I'm like, okay, how much APM do you truly have? Iaguz, do you target the Widow Mines?
I've only done it once, and I was happy when I did it, and then I wondered why I wasn't always doing that. But normally, no. Almost all the time, no.
You know what?
It's usually because I reckon that like any Widow Mine shot, as long as it's not hitting a small amount of lings at the front, is probably a good hit, no matter what it's hitting. So I'm more focused on trying to force him to have to overcommit lings into Widow Mines, and also to just spread Marine so they don't all get killed, or like jump into medevacs and stuff.
Yeah. Oh. You know what this actually reminds me of? This little tiny topic is way back in StarCraft 1, Nada was the only person grabbing his tanks in little groups to select different pieces of the Protoss army. And his engagements look completely different from everyone else's because he would grab like 3 tanks, target Dragoon over here, and then 3 target over here, and 3 target over here. And it was like the Protoss army would just melt into a puddle on the ground. Are we actually going to see that from the fast Terrans coming up?
I don't know, but I just remember like how long it took, like that exact situation you were talking about, how long it took people to figure out that you target the Dragoons with your tanks, and just how big of a difference it made. And if it can take them that long to figure out something that effective, then maybe it could for this, because it just seems like if you eliminate those banelings, the bio army does not die. Like that's what kills it. And so
Yeah,
if it actually
that's the
works
whole-
out that well,
Then again, the most the unit that you see the most obviously going into the Widow Mine is gonna be Zerglings. I can't imagine it's easy to, click on one or 2 Zerglings consistently until the banelings show up, because they have to enter the range first, right? And then you're not microing the rest of your army either.
Yeah, that's the
what
other
you
thing.
what you usually need to micro against is spreading out against the banelings. I mean, there's some stutter step micro against the Zerglings, but in a lot of situations, it feels like there's enough bio to just stand there and shoot down the lings as long as the banelings don't connect. So it's just a matter of how efficiently you can take out the banelings. If it actually works as well as it might, then I think it's worthwhile to just actually ignore your Marines and only do the focus fire. Because I know that's how some battles went TVP and Brood War. Like all you did was you held position your vultures there to kill the zealots. Then all you did was target the Dragoons. Because as long as you made sure that that was what was happening, you won.
Yeah, that's actually kind of interesting because if you hit all the banelings, the Zerglings aren't going to do anything.
As long as like the ratio of Marine to
This is
Zerg
going to
looks like
take
it.
a manly Terran, perhaps a Terran with a full, beautiful beard, to hold position Marines against incoming Banelings on creep with speed and try to
This
target
sounds-
them all down.
This sounds like a great way to get a lot of Marines killed.
Maybe, but
I will
maybe you kill all the Banelings and you look like a hero because you lose nothing.
You
What about
actually
that?
you just stop hotkeying all your Marines and you hotkey different little clumps of the Widow Mines so that you can get them all going at once, and then I think it can work. I think you can do it. I
Ladder
encourage all
points
players
of
to do
glory,
that.
Iaguz. It's up to you, man.
Alright, ladder points of glory, I gotcha.
Uh, I could see people starting to hotkey a little bit, because, hold on, what if you do one hotkey on your Widow Mines? You grab, like, 2 Widow Mines, you throw that on one hotkey with the rest of it. Is this a doable thing to start out? Just, you have your, whatever your hotkey setup personally is. You start microing your Marines, you grab your hotkey before the 2 Widow Mines fire, and then you retarget, and then you can go back to doing your Marines. Even if it's not all of them, you get one good Widow Mine hitting a Baneling, and that can make such a huge difference. Is that, because I don't play TVZ, so
Yeah, because
tell me.
good Zergs split up their Banelings, but there's usually at least some clumps. Like, it's never split perfectly, just like Marines are never split perfectly. So I don't know. I think it's well worth it to at least do a few, because you can split bio. Because like the Zerg at the same time is trying to lead with their Marines and or lead with their Zerglings and make sure the Banelings are coming in like spread out well and whatnot. So it's not going to be perfect versus perfect. I don't know. I think it's just a matter of figuring out what is best to invest your time in for both sides, because both have like too much to do, too many units to spread out, and too many little engagements, little like micro engagements within the actual battle to watch. So it's
Yeah.
actually kind of cool once Terran starts doing that.
Yeah,
Is it
the other
doable,
risk.
though?
I kind of hope that we have to do that though, because Widow Mines as they are now are really like easy to use and dopey. I'm
Yeah,
going to
you just
admit
sit 'em there and
I'm
they
going to
kill
admit
stuff.
this.
Yeah.
Exactly. You sit there, like you just hit E. Like back in Wings, you'd have to micro siege tanks. You'd have to target Banes and Infestors and stuff. With Mines, I just borrow them and
I mean,
watch.
the other risk that you run by doing this, though, is that if there's an overseer with a Zerg army, which I think would be common if we started seeing this, then if you attack move with the Banelings, they're gonna hit the first, mine in sight. They're not gonna go towards the Marines or anything like that. So I don't know. The balance of it, like not the actual game balance, but the balance between microing the other shit and just clicking on the one clump of Banelings potentially. I don't know. It might be too hard. I would like to see someone try though. Perhaps someone with a beard.
Also accepting beardless Terrans for this challenge.
Not as much so. It takes someone very manly to try. Okay, so, but is this actually, like, let's just theorycraft about innovation specifically. Will we see innovation target a bunch of Widow Mines and engagements? Is this actually, if you have like 500 APM, can you get this done? Because there are Terrans that have 500 APM.
Well, like I said, like back when you did tanks, you were splitting Marines while targeting Banelings with the tanks. So
Yeah.
it's a similar thing. It's just there's more to it. So if people could do that, then they can do this. And then it's just a matter of how well you can do it and how well, like the Zerg deals with it. And then there is the extent that Catz talked about, like the mind games behind it. Do you just attack move through there and then you actually kill
Yeah.
the mines before they're allowed to trigger? And does that work? But if you only do some of the Widow Mines, then it's like Zerg's playing pretty risky there, because everything will clump around the mines if you attack move, because they're going to try and kill it. So if some of your mines are auto attacking, then it
Oh,
becomes
that's
much
true.
more efficient. And
That's meta right there.
so
Oh
it's
my
actually
god.
it gets really silly. Is that like your catchphrase? It's meta. Or that's meta?
It should be.
Everyone
Is that
started
the
to do
show's
it,
thing?
so I'm going
Okay.
along with the flow. Whatever.
It's meta right there.
Ooh, that's meta. And then we just like fade out, and that's it for the week. Okay, so
But
What? Go ahead.
well, the final thought that I was just thinking is it's really difficult with mines because when you spread them all out, you only have like maybe 1 or 2 mines that are going to be in range. Because when it was like tanks, you would shift queue all the tanks and then you'd spread Marines, and because tanks had huge range, they'd know what to do before it was time, and then it was time to move Marines, and so the tanks would do what you told them to. But with mines, because of range, that's I think the biggest tricky point with getting them to target
Yeah.
Banes.
Yeah.
Because by the time you're telling them to hit Banes, the Banes are right next to your Marines, and you need to start moving them, or they'll all die. Unless I've hold positioned them.
Hmm.
And then obviously they'll live forever.
Clearly. Of course.
I hope they live
Uh,
forever.
They oftentimes do against these Zergs, man. I've casted quite a few games like that. Uh, so what about let's go away from the targeting of Widow Mines because that's like an interesting theoretical thing that's like too hard to do right now for anybody. But what about the various metagamey type builds that we've seen popping up? Are these things going to change the Widow Mine base play? Because everyone's basically doing Widow Mine base play. Uh, and then we see people like, for instance, Gosu User was using a lot of Speed Bane Roach. We've seen a lot of Bane Roach all-ins in GSL as well because, you know, the Widow Mines and those small numbers aren't really going to do it against that unit comp, whereas the older Siege Tank way was very good against that, so that didn't exist as much. Is there any reason really to ever go back to the Siege Tanks? Like, is there any possibility a big enough shift could cause that? Or are Widow Mines just so superior that all you have to do is scout extra to see this type of metagame stuff coming at you?
I think you'll get some tanks coming back into play. Actually, DeMuslim is opening up with tanks every once in a while, just because he in particular is so vulnerable to like the Roach Bane all-ins. But Roach Bane all-ins are getting very good right now because so many Terrans feel very safe behind their mines and bunkers and whatnot, and so they're actually playing too risky. And so Roach Bane comes in and kills them, and so then actually it's going the other way around. And Roach Bane is becoming kind of predictable, you know, because that's meta now. And so the Terrans are building some tanks just to hard counter that and kind of get the easy win out of it. But really, I think if you make extra bunkers or, you know, just extra Widow Mines and you're very careful with how you target them, so Widow Mine targeting again, I don't know, I think it's very possible to hold it off. And as for Speedbane Roach into the mid and late game, I feel it's just absolutely terrible because if a good Terran will just recognize it, sit back, and start dropping and add in 2-fact tank, and then your composition just ends up being really bad once it gets max.
Mm. Do you ever use a composition other than that, Iaguz, other than the mines? Like, because of any of this stuff?
Sometimes I feel like being a deck and open up blue flames, and if they have roaches, then I make tanks. Like, sometimes I've used tanks with, like, Hellbat drop builds as well to secure the third, because you've got bugger all the units. But otherwise, I really hate opening tanks if they're not attacking, or if I'm not worried about them attacking.
Mm.
So it comes down to either scouting or, just comes down to scouting.
Yeah, as a Zerg player, I'd 10 times over rather play against tanks than mines. It's just so much easier.
Yeah. I think that it's going to be a map-dependent thing, too. There are maps where, you know, sieging one tank on a certain position can protect both your natural and your third. And then, you know, I think that there will be times or strategies, because I've seen builds like that where people get just the one tank and then transition into whatever else they want to do, and then use that tech lab for something else. So I think that's, and I mean, I think the Roach Baneling all-ins are popular both because of the lack of tanks and the fact that Terrans are so greedy. Like everyone's getting like the third CC, the factory, and they don't really have like it's pretty greedy openers, and most Terrans even add like double eBay behind it. So I think that's the way that the Zerg is saying, hey, you gotta stop doing that because I'm gonna kill you if you do, and that's meta right now.
You have to end every thought with that's meta.
That was pretty sick, Catz. Thanks. That's
Problem.
if I ever make a commercial for this show, that is it right there. Oh my god. So we're basically everyone's in agreement that there's no reason to go for another unit composition. Then
there's reason if you scout roaches. But other than
that, like that's. Nah. But I consider that like a reaction. But is there any reason that you could like practice another unit composition? Be like, this is as good as the other one.
I think if you get away with being really greedy early on, and you feel like doing a mid game all in, then I think Bio Hellbat is okay as well. It's really strong attacks, but it kind of peters out as you get into the late game. It's just it doesn't transition as well as Bio Widowmine.
Yeah.
It's also much more vulnerable to like Roach Hydra if you happen to get caught against that for some reason.
Speaking of Roach Hydra, Catz, you were working on that a little bit. Idra, have you used it much? And Iaguz, have you played against it much? Because I feel like if the Widow Mines are so popular, Hydra Roach is going to do well against Widow Mines. But
It does. It
how
doesn't
does that go in
actually.
the later game? No, not really.
Not really.
Not-
Friends, don't let friends go Roach Hydra.
Yeah.
Catz, what
and,
do you have to say about that?
I think that in straight up engagements there are powerful Roach Hydra timings. I was trying to make the Roach Hydra work. I felt like Roach Infestor was better because Infested Turrets are actually really good against mines. You just throw Infested Turrets behind their army and they splash all over their army, and you get rid of the mine shots. But it scales really badly into the late game unless you have Hydras, so you have to add them on later on. And then the biggest problem I have with that is, at first, the biggest problem I had with it was defending my 3 to 4 bases. Right now, I can do that. I've been working on it a lot, but I can never take a 5th. So, yeah, I don't think it's. I think if you're gonna go Roach Hydra, you have to go for a timing. And other than that, I think it's probably not very good.
Yeah,
I
tried it.
agree. I think Roaches are best if you have worked out like a good timing, either based off scouting or just by you just feel like doing it, and then get off them really quickly and do something good.
Yeah, I've tried Roach Hydra. A lot of Terrans on North America like doing kind of weird compositions that involves a lot of Hellbats or way too many Widow Mines early on, and so it kind of feels like Roach Hydra should be able to just attack, move through that, and punish it. And sometimes it can, but it's like Kat said, it's just so centric on that timing. Any good Terran will see it, and if they really want to beat it, then they'll just sit back and defend and start dropping and go tanks. And if they kind of want to beat it, they'll just make a bunch of bio and maybe Widow Mines, like, because the Roaches get in range to trigger the Widow Mines, and Widow Mines aren't particularly high target priority for whatever reason, so the Hydras don't immediately kill them like you think they might. I don't know. It doesn't actually beat anything except for very early on. If you get up to like 150 supply and past that, the bio just starts overwhelming it.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
on that same note, again, I think that the composition in itself, especially once you have Vipers and Infestors, can beat any Terran composition. The only problem is when you're playing against Bio, then Terran kind of becomes Zerg, and and that composition becomes mech, because you can't fucking take a 5th ever against a good player. So I think that's the main issue. But composition-wise, that's fine. Like, I think it can be cost efficient against pretty much anything.
Right. Well, I guess we pretty much did. Any final thoughts on Widow Mines from everyone?
I really don't like them.
You don't like them? Iaguz, do you like Widow Mines?
Widow Mines are a little bit too much fun right now, and a unit's too fun, that's usually a bad sign. So,
Yeah,
yeah, we're probably getting nerfed.
Yeah, I don't know.
Oh.
It's they're way too easy to use. I think that's the main problem. It takes I've said this before a lot of the time, but it feels like Zerg in Heart of the Swarm is what Terran was in Wings of Liberty, where Terran can just do this sort of thing and burrow their mines, just like Zerg could just like sit and fungal shit and get to the late game and win. That's what it feels like for the most part. So
Yeah, I agree completely with that.
yeah, I think that the Zerg has to be better than the Terran to win, most of the time. And
Wow.
Well, that
I mean
sounds.
that's I mean that sounds fair, right? But I don't think I don't think the opposite is necessarily the case. So that's the problem I have right now. Having said that, I don't think it's as bad as I thought. And what I have been experimenting with is extremely quick ultras. And it's working pretty well for me.
Like, how
I've
quick
seen-
are we talking here?
Like quick, like 13-minute ultras with 2/2.
With 3
Oh,
days?
No, you like there was an old the old Ling Infestor opener with upgrades, 2 base, and then you take your 3rd off of it. But then you get the infestation pit so fast, and then you can tech up to Hive. Granted, you're only like 4 to 5 infestors, so it seems a little bit risky. But the way Terrans are playing right now, I don't think there's a lot of risk to it. So I don't know. I haven't run into something that I'm like, well, shit, I lose. But what it used to counter it, if I recall correctly, because I played with it a lot in Wings of Liberty, is just like really, really greedy Terrans. It's hard to punish them because you're waiting for the rolls.
And also no Hellbats, because how on earth would you kill Hellbats with that? But yeah, I have seen compositions like that. You basically just Well, I'm not sure. Do you play defensively after you get up to the ultras, or do you just go all in with them?
With the ultras, I normally go all in, or
Yeah.
normally I attack with them and they die. I wouldn't say I'm
Yeah.
going. Yeah.
Because it feels like I've seen Zergs do that. I think I saw Nurchio do it actually to someone in something. I forget what. Maybe WCS did it to someone. And he kind of just rushed up to ultras. He held an attack or two with Ling and Fester, then got ultras, and he just like attack moved at them. And it was just kind of a get out of the game kind of move. Like if you sit around for too long, then Terran starts to get a lot of marauders and they start dropping around. It's basically the same problem you have with anything that's not mutiling Baneling. They can just drop all over and they eventually wear you down because you can't really kill the medevacs off. And so unless you're defending really, really efficiently and then you do an attack, you're going to get in trouble. But it does provide for a very powerful timing, especially if the Terran's not ready for it and they're still stuck on Widowmine and Marines. Because a lot of Terrans don't really add in Marauders until they're ready for you to go to Hive. So if you do that before they have Marauders, then the Ultras just kind of don't die a lot of the time.
Die. It's like 2/2 ultras plus yeah, it's fucking.
Yeah.
It's pretty ridiculous. Yeah, I agree.
Strong.
The timing. I haven't gone past the timing really because I've just only started playing with it, so I don't know how it scales up or what you need to do past that. Usually I either die early or win with that right now.
One more quick question here. Iaguz, you mentioned that you think a nerf is coming for the Widowmines. What do you think that nerf would be?
For one thing, I think their attack priority when they're unburrowed is kind of silly. Like,
yeah,
units
that
just
actually
ignore
is a
them.
little bit silly. Yeah.
Like, I've had games where they just run straight up to Broodlords and give them a big hug. It's a fun way to win, but it's so stupid.
Yeah.
Either that, or maybe like a tiny radius nerf. Because when you get like a 25
Like
kill
slash
Widowmine,
radius, you mean?
yeah, slash radius.
Okay.
Maybe like a tiny nerf. I don't think they need something too vicious, but it feels like they're gonna get nerfed. I don't know. Maybe that's just me.
Well, you're a Terran player, so this is like I don't get to talk to someone this reasonable all the time. Idra, what do you think? Do you think they need a nerf? And if so, what do you think it would be?
I think the target priority thing is actually because that's the most frustrating thing when you attack because they're tiny units and like yes, it's your responsibility to micro properly and target the things that are high priority, but they're tiny and there's usually a lot of them. And targeting them all before they all go under is sometimes not a practical possibility. So upping their attack priority, but I think that's a very easy way to make them nearly obsolete. Because if you have to burrow them before and then charge forward with your bio, then that's just inviting a pretty big clump of Zerglings to run in and target, and then just the entire bio pack dies. And so then I'm not sure if there's ways for Terran to mitigate that, but I think that could easily become, that could easily make Widowmines obsolete or at least not useful in attacks like that. But then again, given how much new stuff Terran got, including Hellbats and all that, making Widowmines into more of an area control, counterattack prevention, defensive kind of mechanism could be kind of interesting because Terran has always been supposed to be the positional race. And like Kat said, a lot of the times it's becoming more and more like Terran is the Zerg and Zerg is the Terran, where Terran just keeps massing bio Widowmine attack moving at you and expanding behind it. And Zerg saying they're trying to be super, super efficient but unable to really expand behind the wave. So maybe it is the right thing to do to remove Widowmines from that portion of gameplay and turn them into more of an area control tactical unit. That would actually be kind of interesting if they can make it work balance-wise.
I think that's what they were originally wanting because that's what the Spider Mine was anyways. So I think people are just like, wait, these are really good. So, oh god, the Shredder, don't even... Oh. Catz, what do you think about it? Do they need a nerf? What would it be?
What if they just remove the upgrade to burrow really fast?
Drilling claws?
Yeah.
I don't think they make a big difference.
Yeah,
you don't think so?
Yeah, drilling claws,
nice.
I usually get it because it's nice, but I don't think it's
nice.
Well, I mean, it's nice that you just, if you're getting jumped before you've had a chance to spread your Widowmines, they burrow before they get, baneling to death. That's nice.
Yeah.
And it's also good for when you need to give the Broodlords the hug, but...
Yeah, but that makes it so that they can...
fantastic.
I don't know. It feels like you can push a lot easier and not worry too much about the mines. Like, if the mines are not burrowed and they don't have drilling claws and you attack with a clump of mutiling baneling, the banelings will clear out the mines before they can shoot, as long as there's an overseer there. But I don't know. I think that makes it so much easier for the Terran to not position their mines preemptively and just kind of push with the mines as if they were real people. You know,
Real people.
but
Real
I don't
people.
know. I don't know if they need a nerf. I feel like Terran has a lot of options and a lot of really powerful units like the mines and like the hellbats and like the medevacs. So I don't know. It's hard to say what needs a nerf and what doesn't. Because
Yeah.
you change one thing and it's all good.
It's true. Like, I'm not saying
It's
they should nerf them. I'm just getting the feeling that they're gonna get nerfed.
this is kind of an interesting thing. A Terran that's like, yeah, they're going to be nerfed, and a Zerg's like, I don't think they need it. Okay.
It's like
All right, backwards
one-
world.
We're gentlemen. We're
which one would
polite.
I rather them nerf? Which one is gonna be the one that would make me say, hey, this is a balanced matchup? I don't know. I don't think the matchup is too broken, but I think it slightly favors Terran right now.
All right. Well, I think we finally did do it, guys. Really, really fun show this time. Let's go ahead and get some shout-outs. Catz, you have any shout-outs?
Yeah, that's keyword. We're actually very close, like very, very close to renewing our contract with them, and we're really happy with that. And we'll see what we can do with them this coming year. Maybe, try to push them to get a Tankilas keyword or something like that. But we're really happy with them. So big shout out to them and the rest of our sponsors, Aver Media, Twitch. And yeah, thank you for having me on the show. Check out my stream, guys watching, and yeah, follow me on Twitter. Ruth Catz.
Sick. All right. Idra, what are your shout-outs?
Follow me on Twitter at Idrajit, Facebook, Idrajit, my stream, twitch.tv/Idrajit, or Idrajit.tv if you feel like being a bit more diverse. I think that's just about it. I don't really have too much to say now
It's
for this
almost,
stuff.
that's just about Idra it.
Okay.
Okay.
That's meta.
Yeah. Thanks. Everyone's having their turn today. Iaguz, your shout-outs.
Right. I got a list here because I never have to do this too often. Shout outs to yeah, Razor, who's sponsor Frenetic Array. And all the people on Frenetic Array, like all my teammates. To Patriot, Game Traders, and Cam's mum.
Cam's mom.
Oh yeah. Without her, like,
Oh, yeah.
Australian esports would just disappear overnight.
Wow.
We'd be buggered.
Yeah.
I guess so. Okay. I don't know why. I don't get this inside joke. I'm sure it's very funny, though. What is your stream so people can actually watch you? Because you're actually a very good Terran. And
Oh, yeah.
A lot of people don't know that.
I do stream quite often, and I commentate a bunch. It's Twitch TV/MF Iaguz.
MF Iaguz. Everyone go and give him a little like. You're already on Twitch because you're watching this. So, or maybe on YouTube. In which case, go to twitch.tv/MF Iaguz. It's IAGUZ. All right. So, and then thank you very much for coming on, you guys. As for me, big cheers to TT Esports and iBuyPower, my sponsors. Can't wait to get my new PC and up the quality of all this stuff. Big shout out to Simpatico because he is the one that produces this show. He's the one that makes my beautiful stream overlays. He basically holds my hand through technology and does a great job of it. So big shout out to him, and everyone can check him out. I think his Twitter's like Simpatico08. Let him know that he's doing a great job. So that is it for this week. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll be back next week. So see you then.